What's going on, people in internet land? Kimchi Chris here, and welcome to today's episode of Rock Bliss with Kimchi Chris, where we are going to take a look at all of the nominees for the 2021 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class. Now, I would have done this just a hair earlier, but there was kind of an ice and snowstorm in Nashville, and it was very cold. I was just bundled up in a blanket. I couldn't really do anything for a week. So here we are now, and we're gonna get into this. But first, kind of like a last time on, I didn't know they actually inducted anyone in 2020. I know that we did a video on here about the people that they were going to induct, but of course the world fell apart and the induction ceremony happened, and I didn't even know that it happened. But that's what a pandemic does to you. It takes all normality out of your life, and we're still there, of course. But with that being said, I think we'll look at who was inducted, because I legitimately didn't even know, and see if it was of quality at all, because, you know, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a joke. We say that with every one of these videos, but these videos are fun to make, they're fun to argue in, and they're fun to not take that serious. So 2020, last time on Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they inducted Depeche Mode. Okay, that's fair, that's fair. Not a huge fan myself, but they probably deserve to be there. Doobie Brothers, another one I'm not huge on, but they deserve to be there. Whitney Houston definitely deserves to be there. Another artist that I'm not huge on myself, but I was surprised she wasn't there already. 9 Inch Nails, that was one of the ones I was really gunning for, so good to see they're there. Notorious B.I.G., that's another one that I said would probably get there and was kind of gunning for, so there you go. And T-Rex, kind of a surprise there in all honesty. They deserve to be there, but kind of a surprise. Good on them. Still no Motorhead. This hoodie was completely by accident because I'm wearing it all the time now that it's freezing, but no Motorhead and no Thin Lizzy. Still a disgrace, but good to see some good names in there, so that's what happened back in November, apparently. But that's in the past, and we're moving into the future to talk about a bunch of bands that have been around a minimum of 25 years. And for this year, we have some artists that everybody saw come in 1,000 miles away, and then we do have a few oddball choices. So let's dive into it and see what I think, what you guys think, what everybody thinks of these artists. So first up, we have Mary J. Blige. I couldn't say much. I mean, I remember her videos being on VH1 back when I was a little kid, and they played videos on VH1 at 3 in the morning, and I don't know, I'm not a big R&B guy, so whatever, I don't have much to say. Next up, we have Kate Bush. I also don't have much to say. I'm becoming really boring on this subject really quickly, but there's some coming up that I can actually vocalize some opinions about. Next up, we have Devo. How is Devo not in there already? Another band that I'm not huge on, but as far as new wave goes and kind of bringing it to the mainstream, Devo is a band that should definitely be there. I mean, in a lot of people's eyes, they might be a 1 or 2 hit wonder, but they've influenced so many artists that have just gone on to do huge things as well. So Devo should probably be there. So that's interesting that they're not there already, but I think that they definitely deserve to be there. There's a place for Devo in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for sure. And next up, you have a band that I don't hate by any means, but I'm so sick of, and that band is Foo Fighters. Okay, I know this is gonna be a somewhat controversial opinion. I'm so sick of him. I'm sick of Dave Grohl. He's the guy that's always there, just being the guy that's the rock and roll guy. He's in every documentary, he's always on every TV special, he's always the guy that they're always focusing on. And I don't hate Foo Fighters music, I really don't. It's fine for what it is. It's fine for mainstream rock radio type of music. It's perfectly fine, it's executed well. I saw them live once at a festival type thing, and it was cool. They put on a good show, I enjoyed it. I walked away thinking, man, maybe I should get into the Foo Fighters more, and then I checked out some of their music and realized that hits were really strong, deep cuts not so much, and it was kind of just there. It was just there. It's music that doesn't move me and it doesn't offend me. It's right there in the middle. That being said, at some point in my life, they went from being just that radio rock band that was always there to being the huge arena legendary force that they are today. And I don't really know what happened. It kind of seemed like it happened overnight. With that being said, do they deserve to be there? Probably not before some of these other bands. Will they get in this year? Oh, you better believe they're gonna get in. But moving on, next on the list we have the Go-Go's, and this is another band that, you know, I'm not huge on. I've been saying that about everyone so far on this list. I guess the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't really cater to me, but they deserve to be there. They deserve to be there. There's not a lot of positive girl group type of presentation. Well, there's a decent amount of female solo artists, I guess. I don't really know. I feel it's more of a boys club in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so you need the Go-Go's there. They definitely had an impact and an influence on music. Outside of some of the other credentials, influence is supposed to be one of the things there. And that's where Foo Fighters, for example, I feel falls short. I've never met anybody that said, I started a band because I heard the Foo Fighters. But on the other hand, I'm going to assume that in the 80s, the Go-Go's influenced a lot of young girls to pick up guitars, basses, drums, start taking singing a little bit more serious, and realize that they could form a band with all of their friends. So the Go-Go's, they definitely deserve to be in there, come on. But next up on the list, we have a band that I have a huge opinion on, one that I love, one that to many people is more than just a band. It's a culture, it's a community, it's a religion to some of these people, and that is the mighty Iron Maiden. How are they not in there? How are they not in there? Outside the fact that the Hall pretty much ignores heavy metal with a few exceptions, how are they not in there? Talk about influence. This is a band that, love them or hate them, they influenced legions of bands. They influenced everybody. They influenced everybody from metal bands to singer-songwriters to country musicians. So many people are into Iron Maiden, and so many people are into the shirts. Even if they don't know the music, you see the shirts everywhere. You see Eddie everywhere, but Iron Maiden should be in there. It's mind-boggling that this is supposed to be a rock and roll music hall of fame, and of course heavy metal, while not specifically rock and roll, is definitely derivative of rock and roll, and they're not there. One of the biggest metal bands of all time, and in turn, one of the biggest rock and roll bands of all time. You would be hard-pressed to find a younger band, younger being a relative term here, that's either on the cusp of getting inducted in the Hall of Fame or has already been inducted in the Hall of Fame that doesn't have at least one member that was into Maiden. I guarantee you talk to Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters there, he's gonna say they should be in there. Or you can look to previous years of, again, the newer bands, with that being a weird relative term here, but a band like Green Day or Nine Inch Nails last year. All of these bands, they care about Iron Maiden, and they're probably surprised that they're there before Iron Maiden. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you literally look at it. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but come on, they should be there. They've already, decided to go past Judas Priest. They didn't induct them, and they're not even on the list anymore. So I guess Iron Maiden is their next one to, make the metal fans mad with, because there's always like one metal band on there every year and they never get inducted, but Maiden should be there. Will they get in there? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine, but they definitely should be in there. We need more aggressive music in the Hall of Fame. That's just how it is. That's a genre even past metal that they seem to ignore. But another genre that they seem to be bringing into the Hall of Fame that can also be very aggressive, and they are not ignoring it anymore, is hip hop and rap. And the next artist that's on the list to possibly be inducted would be Jay-Z. Now, if you look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as strictly the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, yeah, Jay-Z doesn't really fit the bill, but there's a ton of hip-hop artists in there. At this point last year, they put the Notorious B.I.G. in there, for example, and of course Jay-Z fits the bill for that. So if you're gonna include hip-hop, you might as well have Jay-Z be your representation for the year. He's done a lot, again, with influence. He's influenced every young MC that's come after him, I would say, for the most part. The thing that's interesting about hip-hop is that you can be the biggest artist in the world and still influence the underground and smaller guys, and I think Jay-Z is definitely a great representation of that, so he deserves to be in there for sure. Next up, we have Chaka Khan. I don't really have any opinion. I know she worked with Prince, and I like Prince, so that alone makes her all right in my book, but I just don't have any opinion on that. Carole King is the next one. Another one I don't have an opinion on. I couldn't tell you anything about Carole King. I know I've heard her music. Couldn't tell you anything. Some people are probably getting mad at me about that, but I don't know anything about her. And Fela Kuti is the next one. I don't know anything about him either. I know he's really big with African music, and he's definitely the undercard kind of surprise nominee. That's something I do know about him. I know he's very influential. Couldn't tell you much else about him. Next up on the list, we have LL Cool J, and kind of like we were just talking about, they really have opened the doors for hip-hop and rap to be there, but he's been on there a lot, and I don't think he deserves to be in there over Jay-Z, so I'd be very surprised if he made it this year, especially over Jay-Z, even though LL probably influenced Jay-Z, so it's kind of weird, but I guess we'll see what happens. One of those guys will get in there, but I don't know, it's probably gonna be Jay. But next up on the list, we have a band that it's surprising isn't in there, since again, this is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, if you will, because this is a band that's influenced glam rock. It's influenced straight up rock and roll. It's influenced punk rock. It's influenced the entire 80s hair metal scene. And that would be the New York Dolls. And you know, it's a real shame that it took a member dying, it seems like, to get them on the ballot. Now, maybe they've been there before, I don't know, but they, of course, are there now, and they should have been there all along. There's so many bands that are already in the Hall of Fame that were influenced by them. Everyone from Kiss to Guns N' Roses to the Ramones. I mean, so many bands that are in there have cited the New York Dolls as an influence. So you need to have them in there. I mean, they might not have the same commercial appeal as some of these other artists, but come on. It's supposed to be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Have the New York Dolls in there. But next up on the list, we have another band that definitely should be there, but is probably too aggressive at the end of the day. But it's weird because Tom Morello is kind of like the poster child of, again, that kind of rock guy like Dave Grohl. And that, of course, is Rage Against the Machine. They were one of the bands that single-handedly started the whole rap rock, you know, nu metal craze of the 90s. And most of those bands were pretty bad. They were pretty bad, let's admit it. But if all the bands that sounded like Rage Against the Machine, most people would have been very okay with that genre. And they deserve to be in there. Do I see them getting in there? I don't know. They've been nominated so many times at this point. It's just so bizarre. I thought they would be a shoe in their first year because of, again, Tom Morello being like the face of rock and roll in 2021, even though the guy's been around forever. But I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see them get in there. They're very aggressive. That's the thing. I can't even imagine them performing at the ceremony and how odd that would be. But as we continue to move forward with newer artists, music did get more aggressive in the mainstream. So at some point, that's going to be a thing, which, funny enough, brings to mind the fact that they had an induction ceremony last year in November. I wonder if it was in person, and I wonder if 9 Inch Nails performed. I'm gonna have to look into that. I haven't researched that at all before doing this video, but I'm curious now. And after them, we have Todd Rungren, another artist that I know some of his music. I don't have a huge opinion on him. I know he was nominated last year and maybe even the year before that. He still hasn't been inducted. I know people really want him in there. I know his fan base is vocal, and his fan base seems to be the type of fan base that actually cares about this silly Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nonsense. So go ahead and put him in there. Just put him in there. His fans want him in there, so just do it. Just do it at the end of the day. Next up, we have Tina Turner. What? How is she not in there? What? Okay, just put Tina Turner in there. Another artist that I'm not huge on, but I'm a little shocked to see her on there because I just assume she's been in there for a long time. That's weird. And the last one is Dionne Warwick, another artist I don't have a huge opinion on. So this year, as far as bands that I would be, you know, passionate about getting in there or passionate about keeping out of there, there's not a huge amount this year. There's a lot of artists that, as you just saw, I was just kind of like, about. I mean, the true kind of standouts of artists that I really think should be in there, mind you, who knows if they really will be, would be Iron Maiden for sure. Definitely a big one there. The Go-Go's and Jay-Z, honestly, I think Jay-Z needs to be there. So, with that being said, let me put together my list. They always end up 5, right? Probably look that up and see if I'm right. Well, there were 6 last year, so we're gonna go with 6. So I'm gonna pick 6 that I would pick if I was the one really, you know, pulling on the heartstrings of the Hall of Fame. So again, we're gonna go with Iron Maiden, number 1. They need to be there. And Jay-Z, number 2, needs to be there. The Go-Go's, number 3, need to be there. So what are the next 3 going to be? Well, New York Dolls, probably not getting in there in reality, but I'm picking New York Dolls for my number 4. I'm picking Rage Against the Machine for my number 5. Again, this is not gonna happen. This is a very heavy lineup for them. And for number 6, oh, Tina Turner. Tina Turner. That's no surprise there. Another very influential character that it boggles the mind that she's not in there already. So yeah, to review, Iron Maiden, Jay-Z, The Go-Go's, New York Dolls, Rage Against the Machine, Tina Turner. How fun of a party would that be if you were just hanging out with all of them, at least the ones that are still with us. But there you go. There you go. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees for 2021. Kind of unimpressive, kind of underwhelming, but it is what it is. Does anyone really even care about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anymore? I know that on the Maiden tip, I saw an interview with Bruce Dickinson where he said he just doesn't even care anymore. I mean, I think the fact that those guys, when they tour, play arenas and stadiums exclusively really, you know, says where they are. But I don't know. That's where we are for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2021 nominees, and I assume they'll have a ceremony this year. I know everything's still up in the air, but if they had one last year, I guess they'll have one this year. But what do all of you think? Let me know in the comments below, but keep it civil. Keep it civil. Don't argue too much with each other or myself because, you know, there's more important things in the world, plainly, because I didn't even know there was a ceremony last year. But definitely let me know in the comments below your top six. Six is, yeah, is that right? Six? I can't do fingers anymore, but pick your top 6. I want to know what your list would be. I have a feeling a lot of you are going to agree with some of the ones that I picked, and some of you might disagree, but that's okay. Let me know. And if you are new around here, hit that subscribe button, turn on all of the notifications, give the video a thumbs up. And again, my name is Kimchi Chris. This has been Rock Bliss with Kimchi Chris, and we will see you guys on the next episode.